This is the best new-ish niche for bookkeepers. And I really got excited making this video because if I was looking for an area to specialize as a bookkeeper, I would 100% consider this. Mainly because these business owners have a high earning potential and their businesses are usually fairly simple. And the niche that I'm talking about is content creators. And whether you love them or hate them, in this video, I'm gonna explain why I think content creators are a really untapped client base for bookkeepers. Starting off, why this niche? I already touched on it a little bit, but this is a really fast growing group of business owners, especially post-pandemic and with all the platforms we now have that people can use to get famous. And I do think these influencers are kind of discounted as business owners sometimes. And they might even not think of themselves as like a real and true business. They're like, oh, I'm just making like get ready with me videos every morning. But then after a while, they make like $100,000 a year. Because of this kind of like perfect storm of them not getting that much respect, but also making a lot of money, oftentimes it creates some chaos in the business and they need a bookkeeper to come in and help them figure out how to plan for taxes, set up some systems, and just get organized. Content creators might have like a couple contractors working for them maybe, but overall their business is not very complicated and sprawling. Maybe they've been doing their own books for a couple years, and so hopefully it shouldn't be too complicated for you as a bookkeeper to come in and figure it out and then maybe make a few tweaks. Next, let's talk about how to market to creators. And later in the video, I'll talk about actual bookkeeping tips for this niche and also red flags to look for. And I'll also lay out the year for you with my little business plan so that if I wanted to build my bookkeeping clients in this area, exactly what I would do kind of season by season. Okay guys, I need to blow out this candle. The smell of it is just too strong. It's giving me a headache. Okay. I also have this little one. Is that too distracting? Okay, we'll just leave it there. I think it looks good. Okay, how to market to creators. The biggest problem that you're gonna come across is that they get inundated with people trying to sell stuff to them. So I'm not even like a huge content creator, and every day I get tons of emails from like web designers wanting to redesign my website, people wanting to do video editing, people wanting to make thumbnails, all these things people are trying to help me with. So as a bookkeeper, you're gonna have to do something to kind of stand out. And I'll get into a few specific ideas about this, but the main thing is you need to build trust with these people. You need to show them that you're an actual, real life, trustworthy bookkeeper who's not going to rip them off. And there's lots of ideas on how you can do this. Maybe you have a free consultation so they get kind of like a little taste of your work before they actually hire you. Maybe your website is really strong with references and like it just really shows again that you're a real person. My two marketing ideas that I'm going to get into for this video, one I called the TikTok strategy and the other one I called the one-person strategy. And if you want to take a whole class that totally goes over bookkeeper marketing, definitely check out my course that is Bookkeeper Marketing Coach. There's a link for that in the description box. Okay, so first let's go over the TikTok strategy. Wait, don't click away. I know that you don't want to be on TikTok, right? You think it's cheesy and cringy, and I understand that, but hear me out. In my opinion, I think TikTok is an untapped market for bookkeepers. There are not a lot of bookkeepers on there, so if you are one, you're gonna stand out. And yes, you can definitely do this TikTok strategy on any platform. So you could also do it on Instagram, you could do it on YouTube, you could do it on LinkedIn, but wherever you are, you can do it in your own personal style. I think a good example of this on TikTok is Melanie. She's a bookkeeper, but I feel like what she does is pretty attainable. Like every other day, she films like a little quick tip for business owners from a bookkeeping perspective that will help them out. And of course, your TikTok won't be in her style, it'll be in your own style, which is perfect. But the reason that you're creating this TikTok account is so that you can build trust with people, so that they can look at the history of your past year and be like, oh, you have given like really helpful tips for 9 months, for 10 months that all speak directly to me as a content creator. And oh, I've saved like 10 of your videos because they're really helpful. And then you as the bookkeeper can create little mini guides specifically for your target audience. So maybe it's 5 tax write-offs for content creators, or maybe it's bookkeeping tips for brand deals. So if your ideal client is creating content on TikTok or whatever platform you are looking for, then you should also be creating content on that platform. It's kind of like speaking the same language as your client. Maybe your client makes a video about their first 10K month. Then you can comment on that video and say, oh, have you thought about these 3 things for tax time now that you're making this income? Have you thought about switching from an LLC to an S Corp? You know, just kind of engage with them a little bit, and then that might pique their interest. Then they can click over onto your profile and see all the good stuff you have going there. You can also use the DMs, the direct messages through any of these platforms, and sometimes that is a better way to contact people and to get them to actually answer than email. All right, so that's the TikTok strategy. Now let's talk a little bit about what I called the one-person strategy. So that is basically just get in good with one content creator, and hopefully that one person has a pretty good network, and then they will start recommending you to their friends. And before you know it, you could be the bookkeeper for all the content creators in that one area. So how I would go about this is get involved in some kind of online workshop where you're teaching like a 30-minute workshop about bookkeeping. And these come in all shapes and sizes. So there's some with really small content creators, medium, and big ones. And it'll probably be easier to get in if you start with the smaller ones, right? And how this works, if you're not familiar with it, a really good example was I was in one of these, it's called like an online conference, and my assistant Gabe was the one who hosted it. She has her own business called Red Hot Mindset, and she had a bunch of speakers, probably like 20 or more speakers, and it was centered around a certain topic. This one was grow your business without social media, and she's really good at networking, so she knows a lot of people, and she could pull all these really good subject matter experts on different subjects and create this valuable conference that appealed to a large audience. And a lot of times if someone is putting together a conference like this, they need speakers. So even if you don't have a huge audience, it might be likely that they'll still want to include you as a speaker. And then everyone is promoting this to their own audiences, and so there could be thousands and thousands of people watching these workshops. So this again is a really great way to build trust. So people saw you at this workshop, they're like, oh yeah, Morgan, she seems pretty helpful. Oh, she offered me like a free consultation. Maybe I should take her up on that. And then I really do truly believe that once you book a couple of these clients, then the word will spread about you and they will recommend you to their friends. All right, next section is how to reach out to these content creators. My number one piece of advice is to be genuine, but you're also gonna have to cast a fairly wide net because you will likely get a lot of no's or people ignoring you. So I'm gonna actually show you the email of someone that emailed me who was a web designer, and I actually said yes to him. And over the years, in the past like 5 or 6 years, I've got maybe hundreds of inquiries about designing something about my website or some tech part of my business. And for some reason, the stars aligned, and when Daniel emailed me, it was something that I had already been wanting to do. I was like, oh, I kind of want to redesign my website. And then his email spoke to me in a way that worked. I just pulled it up. This is from 5 years ago, and I'll put it on the screen. It's actually a little bit maybe longer than I would recommend, but he just seemed like a real genuine person. He wasn't pushy, and he seemed like he actually knew my brand. So he just said he wanted to reach out in case I was thinking of revamping my website anytime soon. Then he gave me his email address. He said he's been watching my channel for a long time because he actually wanted to become a bookkeeper. And he was pretty complimentary about my channel, which honestly never really hurts, but he did it in a way that didn't sound too cheesy, but he was just comparing like the fact that my videos were a little better looking than my website at the time. And then he asked if I wanted a free phone consultation that was about an hour to talk about it. And so I was like, sure, I guess I have nothing to lose just talking to this guy for a bit and seeing what he has to say about my website. And then when you are face to face with someone, it does help to build that trust. And yes, of course, there are more and more like digital scammers out there now, but there are also real, genuine, good people who want to hire you as a bookkeeper. So as much as you can, try to believe that as well. So once I had that hour Zoom call with Daniel, he followed up right away with an email about stuff that we talked about and 3 of his references. And I did email all the references and heard back from them. And then at that point, I was ready to move ahead with the project. So Daniel had probably gotten tons and tons of no's along the way, but every so often there's someone who is going to align with like the right timing of when they need what you're offering, and then you'll get that yes. So use a genuine tone, tailor the message toward the business owner, and be clear in what you're offering. Hopefully those 3 things will make it a little easier for them to say yes to you. Now let's talk about the actual bookkeeping in this niche. So first of all, the income can be variable and unpredictable. So maybe one month they're making tons of money and the next month they're really not, because a lot of creators have brand deals. Honestly, I don't know that much about brand deals because I don't really do them, but you know, I think they could pay you like $10,000 one month and then the next month you have like nothing. Any of these sources of income can be variable. So we have brand deals, affiliates, so how much they sell based on people clicking on their affiliate links. And then platforms have different monetization. So YouTube has AdSense, but that is quite variable as well. A lot of times it fluctuates a lot month to month without me really being able to control it at all. So unpredictable income. And then the income is kind of weird because it can come a lot of different ways. So a lot of like Stripe or PayPal or different affiliate portals. So maybe as the bookkeeper, like 5 affiliates are paying them through Stripe. So you need to log into Stripe and then categorize those different income sources. Next thing is that in some cases, personal and business become more intertwined than in most businesses. Especially this has to do with like lifestyle creators, because sometimes it can be unclear what is a business expense and what's not. Maybe they're doing some traveling, like what percentage of that is deductible. So if you do specialize in this niche, you could get really good at explaining that type of stuff to clients, like how to separate business from personal, why this is deductible and this is not. Kind of going along with that is sometimes their business structure is not even clear, especially if they're like a newer creator and they haven't really thought about it. Some people might not even make a business until they're further down the line. Maybe they just started posting for fun and then they were able to monetize it and it kind of snowballed. So think about helping them with their business structure. And then just like tax time is stressful. It's stressful for everyone, but for like a seasoned veteran who's like a lawyer who went to school for law and then decided to start their own business and has worked on this for like 10 years or more, that person probably knew what they were getting into. But maybe your content creator client hasn't been thinking about it for so long. And so you as a bookkeeper walking them through taxes is really going to help out. Bookkeeping tips for this niche. So I would separate income by platform. So if they have different income streams, maybe they have YouTube income and Instagram income, you can separate those out. Maybe they have affiliate income. It might even be helpful to break out like their top 3 affiliates so they can see it right there on the P&L. And then that's helpful because they can see what's most profitable. You can pull reports to compare it to last year so they can see like, oh, my Instagram income is up a lot this year, so maybe I should invest more into that platform. Or this brand really does well and this one doesn't do as well. Next thing is you can think about payroll for these clients. So they might already have a system for payroll or they might not. Or maybe they're just paying their assistant under the table. But as you're working with them, you might see opportunities where they can hire a part-time contractor for something, where they can hire a video editor for something. And then you can help them pay those contractors. You can make sure they're collecting W-9s for their contractors and then they're paying them with 1099s in January. Content creators are also known for getting a bunch of free stuff, but you can help educate them that the IRS really does care about those things that they're receiving, and you can help them track gifts versus purchases. There might also be a lot of room for reminders and systems, so maybe they haven't been paying quarterly taxes and you can make sure that gets done every quarter. You can also help them make a savings plan for their variable or unpredictable income. All right, let's talk a little bit about pricing for content creators. I kind of broke it up into 3 buckets, basically like a starter creator, so someone who's not necessarily making a full-time income, maybe it's just like a side hustle. So I said like under $50K per year. So for that person, I would charge them like $200 to $300 per month as a bookkeeper. And then we have mid-tier. So this is kind of like a little more volume, maybe like 75 to 100. This one, I would charge them $400 to $600 per month. And then a top tier content creator, someone who's getting brand deals, has multiple platforms. Maybe they run payroll every month. I would charge this person at least $700. So starting $700 and then going up from there, depending on like how long it takes you, what tasks you're doing for them. So let me know in the comments if you think these prices are pretty reasonable. The good thing about content creators, like I said, is their books aren't usually that crazy. So they're probably not invoicing depending on what their business is. They're probably doing a lot of stuff online, so probably online bill pay. So hopefully nothing too complicated. All right, so like I said, this is my business plan that I have for content creator clients. So you can steal this if you want. I don't know if this is helpful, but just kind of to give you an idea of what to do during different chunks of time, because it will take time to build this. This is my TikTok strategy. So it'll take time to kind of build that platform a little bit and get to know people on it. And slowly but surely it will happen. And then one day you'll wake up and you'll be like, oh, I have a bunch of clients. All right. So starting out in the winter, say you're starting like nowish or at the beginning of 2026, maybe. So just set up that TikTok profile and then DM, direct message 15 creators each month. So pretty much every month of the year, I want you to be direct messaging different creators. And then you can build and share your freebie. So you can use like a Google form opt-in. And on the next page, I have a couple freebie ideas. And then you can offer free audits, like Daniel did. He said, oh, I can do a free hour call. All right. So winter, you're getting rolling. And then in the spring, you launch your $50 audit offer. So maybe it's some new interesting offer, and then follow up with all the leads from the winter time. And then you want to be pretty good about tracking these leads. So maybe someone said like, oh, I'll catch you later in a couple months. I might need a bookkeeper. Or someone maybe said, oh, you should talk to my other friend who needs a bookkeeper. So make sure you're tracking all that. And also if no one answers or if they say no, track that. So you're not like bothering people if they don't need a bookkeeper. Then make sure as you're getting any clients or any previous clients you are gathering those testimonials or referrals. All right, let's talk about the next season. This one I said DM assistants. So you don't always have to DM the actual creator. Sometimes they will have an assistant that is, filtering their emails. Even I have that because I can't reply to every single email I get. And so you can tailor your message to that person and you can relaunch that freebie. So make sure you're always talking about it on your TikTok and then begin an onboarding systems. So as you're doing all this, you are getting your name out there on TikTok or whatever platform you use. Make sure you're also working on your own business. Figure out what you're going to do if someone actually says, yes, I want a bookkeeper. And then fall to kind of like the end of the year, I said you can think about the timing of year end and what people will need for that. So you can market year end cleanups to warm leads, meaning anyone that was kind of interested. You can do like maybe a challenge on TikTok. So challenge yourself to post every single day. That tends to kind of ramp up your engagement and your followers. You can also create a freebie that's specific, a different freebie that is specific to year end. So hopefully that kind of gives you an overview of what to expect throughout the year as you're building this part of your marketing. All right, and just quick 3 content ideas you can do. I think I already said this one. 3 write-off ideas every creator forgets. This is a good one because it appeals to like a worry. Before and after client books, of course, you could kind of blur out the personal information, but a before and after is kind of cool. I like that. And then how to prep for tax season in 10 minutes. I don't know. I feel like 10 minutes is really fast, but that is a very appealing offer. Thank you guys for watching all the way to the end. Definitely subscribe if you made it this far. Hit the join button if you want to connect with me a little bit more. And there's a bunch of resources and stuff in my description box if you want to check that. All right. Thank you so much. And I'll talk to you again next week.